Good Tuesday to everybody. While I clear out some of my messages here, I just want to welcome you in. My name is Choppadong once again, and I represent the DFSArmy.com website. I am your one and only chalk eating, lovable host, and probably your content goofball, whatever. I'm always throwing a bunch of different stuff out there, trying to get information out to you guys as quickly and efficiently as we can. I like these little videos. I'll try and keep it short today because it's just really a week 4 DFS NFL recap video. The things that we'll talk about some of the scores, some of the game balls or whatever that we'll give out. Of course, we'll dip into a little bit of show you to follow me on Twitter, ha ha ha, but there it is in case you want to know. I'll show you a little bit of the upcoming Vegas lines, and I want to walk through a couple of things on the DFS Army website with you. So let's kind of dive in. What we know, I'll show you in this Thursday game since we've forgotten about it, that what we want to see when we're looking at quarterbacks and wide receivers, we want to see how that quarterback spreads the ball out. What we're finding right now in rushing committees is one ratio where you can see one guy gets 20 carries, another guy gets 10 carries. I don't like that as much. It seems to be what everybody's going for. If you can find the guy getting more than 20 carries that's getting third down work and red zone work, you've got yourself a cash running back. I don't care what the cost is because they're so damn hard to find. What you're finding everywhere else is like a Jordan Howard splitting time with Tarek Cohen and Benny Cunningham of all people. And these guys what are they getting carries for? I don't know. But I do know that these guys are getting game flowed out. These pound backs like ground and pound backs like a Jordan Howard are getting game flowed out of the game, and that's why your Tarek Cohen's getting the work that he's getting. And it's a shame, but if you paid up for Jordan Howard or you drafted him high in your season long leagues, man, you weren't thinking because the team is bad, and he's going to be in a situation a far amount of times, and that's going to really hurt his production for his price. Now, what we notice going back to the original point here, they are tending to spread the ball around quite a bit in that offense. I don't know who's going to have the touchdowns, who's going to have the big games. What I know is a standalone without a touchdown, this isn't playable, this isn't playable, this isn't all that playable. Well, this one kind of is. But you need that touchdown, and I don't know where that touchdown is going to go. I'd much rather find an offense that focuses on one or two receivers and feeds them, rather than one that focuses on three or four and kind of spreads it out. That's just how I play DFS. You might get lucky and hit a tournament, lucky game or something like that. Going into the Packers side of things, we know that the focus is up here. And yes, I told people that he was going to get a real tight end and was going to be using it. And there's Martellus Bennett, who's getting targets and getting some production. And Davante Adams is now the fourth favorite receiver in that offense with these other two healthy. Jordy's the favorite. Cobb and Bennett are kind of 2 and 3, and Davante Adams is the guy that will have a good game once in a while, but isn't getting enough market share to really make it worth it. So bear that in mind as it goes forward, because Green Bay now has a tight end and they're using him. But they focus their offense a little bit more than Chicago does. Saints, Dolphins, whatever. Panthers, whatever. I need to see it again out of Cam. I mean, great. If you took the GPP shot on him and stuff going up against the Patriots, that's fine. If you were one of the believers that thought that the Patriots defense really does suck, because we're going 4 weeks in now. We've got a sample size that these little 1-game and 2-game things are kind of becoming trends. They've either gone back to what we thought they'd go back to, or they're continuing on and they've actually got a sample and a trend. The way the Patriots got torched in week 1 by the Chiefs, we started thinking maybe they're bad, their defense is bad. And then they kind of had an okay-ish game week 2. And so we thought, well, all right, maybe it's the Saints offense that's bad, or maybe, we don't really know. That's the early part of the season. Now that we're at the quarter pole, we've got some stuff stacked up where we've got some true numbers that we can rely on a little bit. And for that, we want to make sure that we're putting ourselves in these right positions. Nobody really wanted to attack Cam as bad as he'd look, and the people that thought that he could have a game, and so I'll pick up a tiny little piece of him. Good for you, it worked, but I want to see more out of Cam to see what he's going to be. If he starts running again, great. I want that Cam. If he has to sling it all over the planet, I don't count on 300-yard games out of Cam. Now, I think we're finding out that the Patriots defense is attackable. They might be in a lot of high scoring games as the weeks go on, and that's good for fantasy because we might get some suppressed prices going into Patriots games where we can really kind of focus in on those guys hitting value. Another thing that that's really all there is to say out of this. We know that Patriots have a great quarterback, no running game, that it gets spread out. There's no predictable running game, and we know that they like to feature Gronk, and so, and the other receivers, it's kind of like, who knows? So you get what you get. Over here in Jaguar land, though, yeah, the Jets won again at home. They're having a hard time getting that #1 pick, aren't they? The Jets, I'm not focusing on any of their offense. What I will focus on is trying to tell you why Leonard Fournette was cash safe last week. Because I heard people say he wasn't, and I wanted to punch him. The reason Leonard Fournette is cash safe is he is being used in 2 out of 3 scenarios. There's 3 scenarios in a typical football game: playing from behind, competitive, or playing from ahead. When you're playing from behind, no, we don't know how they're going to use Leonard Fournette because they're going to force Blake Bortles to throw some, more than usual. But when they're competitive and or playing from ahead, they're leaning on Fournette like freaking crazy. They're trying to keep Blake Bortles from throwing the ball to the other team. He completes more passes to the opposition than he does his own receivers. And so they're leaning on Fournette, leaning on Fournette, leaning on Fournette in 2 out of the 3 scenarios. If he faces a team where they're scheduled to be a lot of points scored or the Jags are scheduled to be ahead, Fournette is cash safe. Period. End of story. Look at this: 24 carries, 4 receptions. I don't care about the yardage and the production. That will come. The touchdowns will come. It's this nearly 30 touches that's going to be what's predicting this. They're going to break a few. He's going to amass a few yards just because of it. Again, the main focal point here is what Jacksonville's trying to do. They're trying to keep Blake Bortles from having to throw the ball. Therefore, if you think Allen Hurts or Marquise Lee are cash plays, you're freaking crazy. They are not. When the game is in the lead, when they're in the lead, or when they're being competitive, they're leaning on Fournette. They're not leaning on their receivers. They don't want Bortles to throw the ball that much. Therefore, these guys are not going to get the targets you think they're going. Yes, in a game where they're behind, or in a game where they break a coverage or something like that, yeah, they're going to appear to have good games. But most of the games that they play are going to look more like this: 4 or 5 receptions, 40 yards. If you're lucky, a touchdown. That brings cheap value on Draftkings. It doesn't do you much on Fanduel. Get them off your roster. You can't roster these guys. They just aren't going to cut it for you. You need to really be focused on Fournette and maybe the defense, and that is about it. Texans, 57 points, not predictable. I mean, Lamar Miller had a game. First game in 2 years that he really beasted. Good for him. DeAndre Hopkins was predictable. He got a lot of targets. He's going to keep getting targets. Got himself in the end zone. Awesome. Great. As far as the Steelers, this was another one. We in the DFS Army said that Le'Veon Bell is a GPP play, perhaps the best on the entire slate. Not necessarily cash safe. Now, that's a weird scenario because Le'Veon Bell is almost always cash safe. Why was he not necessarily cash safe? Because he's facing what we thought was an elite run defense or an elite defense on the road where Ben has problems orchestrating that offense, didn't know if they'd be able to sustain drives, and going into that defense didn't know how much they'd be on the field. Thought it might be a low-scoring divisional muck and grind kind of game. So, Le'Veon Bell is matchup proof and can win. He can score 2 touchdowns and go over 100 yards in any freaking game. You could put 12, 13 men on the field. He could still do it. Not a problem with that. But because of the matchup being tough and not seeing him perform the first 2 weeks and then basically hit his floor in the 3rd week, you got questions out about him facing an elite defense. Therefore, not necessarily cash safe, especially when you have other viable options on the slate like Zeke and Gurley and Kareem Hunt on Monday night and whatever else. You had a few other good, Leonard Fournette. You had a few other good running backs for cheaper. That made Le'Veon Bell a phenomenal GPP play. I hope you played him in some tournaments because the dude obviously went off. Good for him. Everybody else rather pedestrian. Bengals and Browns, good Lord, whatever. The Browns are bad. We knew that. The Bengals had a game against them. Good. AJ Green was the one we were on. Tyler Kroft, whatever. Please keep playing the guy because he's so inconsistent that if you make your money predicting that, You might as well go play the lottery or go play craps down at the boat, whatever. Vikings, Lions, bleh. Rams, Cowboys, we thought was going to be good, turned out to be good. We realized a couple of things out of this game. I realized that this particular play of Dak and Zeke was outstanding, and it worked. It couldn't have worked better in cash games or any format you used it in. Why? Dak is an underrated quarterback. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I'm saying for his price, Dak runs and Dak throws efficiently. He may not throw a lot. This time he did, but he may not throw a lot, but he throws efficiently. You can count on about 200 yards and 2 touchdowns out of the guy most weeks. And with his legs, he's going to run for another 30, 40 yards or so and probably and some weeks punch one in for you. That gives you a very good cash viable quarterback for that $7,000 to $8,000 Fanduel range or whatever. What you're looking for here in a game where they are also scheduled to score a lot of points, but you don't really know where they're going to come from because Dak is not a prolific passer like a Drew Brees, and Zeke pounds the production out of that offense, is you put them both together and you grab a piece of every touchdown that team scores if it's not a defensive touchdown. Jason Witten scores, great. Cole Beasley scores twice, great. Dez scores, great. Zeke punches a couple in, great. Doesn't matter. With these two and roughly 30 points projected to be scored, I've got a piece of all of it. 3, 4, maybe 5 touchdowns. I've got a piece of all of them. My ideal situation, Dak runs one in, throws for a couple, Zeke gets a couple, and that's exactly what happened. So it worked out perfectly. However, in the receiving core, we don't really know what to do down here. Yeah, you can tout Dez all you want, but I don't think Dez is necessarily cash safe because Dez can get you 2 or 3 receptions for 8 yards and a touchdown, and that doesn't do you anything at his normal price. If his price is down around the Emmanuel Sanders types, I think Dez has tremendous upside for that price, but I don't think he has a floor that we can count on for cash type contests. Zeke did what Zeke does. The other thing to take away from this game, I think that, and this is not a DFS point, but I think that the Rams might be more news than they are noise at this point. I think that coaching change did them wonders. I think that this new coach has infused some creativity. I think that Jared Goff is worthy maybe of that first round draft pick based on his development and what they've done with him. I think that that has panned out pretty well, whereas last year it didn't look like it was going to. That was more on probably Jeff Fisher than anything. Looks good so far. Sammy Watkins and Robert Woods. You got Cooper Kupp's emergence. You got yourself a couple of targets. Maybe this Tyler Higbee guy. He looked really, really good in the game in the balls they threw to him. Maybe they've got a few weapons, and Goff can kind of spread the ball around a little bit and have himself some good games. And then, of course, do what the Jacksonville does: is just feed their beast. This one's Todd Gurley. 23 touches, 7 receptions. 7 receptions? If this isn't them trying to get him their playmaker of the ball, I don't know what is. And I think it's the way they should have been using Gurley the whole damn time. I was willing to call Gurley a mediocre back in a crappy team and therefore likely a bust. But it looks like if you get the guy some weapons that spreads people out so that you can focus on him, it looks like he might be a beast the way they're using him. I like that going forward. So now I've got a Leonard Fournette, a Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, a Le'Veon Bell. I mean, I'm going to have a Kareem Hunt maybe. I've got a couple of 3, 4, 5 guys that are going to be in decent matchups every single week. If I can pay up for these running backs, consistently get these kinds of touches and production out of them, man, am I happy. I can pay down at quarterback and go grab Dak or grab somebody else in a good spot. I can pay down at receiver, which is a more volatile position with a lot of options. So there's always going to be good matchups there. Pay down a little bit at tight end defense and be able to afford that whole thing. Dude, let me tell you. But yeah, in the meantime, let's just keep feeding Zeke. Let's power through the rest of these games. Bills, Falcons. Okay, the one thing we knew out of the Bills, or that you should have known, Tyrod going on the road, not being a favorite, was probably not cash safe. However, Charles Clay, his favorite receiver and probably the leading receiver on that team, worked out the way it was supposed to. The other thing I can tell you, dudes, oh my God, people around the industry keep calling Julio Jones safe, cash safe. He's not. Julio Jones is often dinged up. Therefore, sometimes he's a decoy. Therefore, they ignore him in the red zone. Therefore, he has a floor that is lower than his price requires. Therefore, he's not cash safe. Upside, tremendous upside. Love the guy as a pivot off of an Antonio Brown. But if I had those two side by side, I'm taking Antonio Brown every day and twice on Sunday for my cash games because they don't very often forget about Antonio Brown. They forget. In soft matchups, they forget about Julio Jones. I don't like the way they use him there. And when I'm paying $9,000 for a receiver, I can't have that. So I'll let all of the other DFS touts tell you that, oh yeah, Julio Jones is cash safe, and look at what you know what he does. It's like you're walking down Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and you see, okay, some mediocre broad throw you some beads and flash you, that's great, and then this girl flat, that's great, and then all of a sudden this big bodacious Barbie doll of a blonde walks out with huge store-bought boobs and flashes them for the whole crowd. And the whole crowd runs over there to get the one little bit of beads that she's going to throw at him. Me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And then, boom, she disappears for 3 more weeks, and we're left with all the other mediocrity again. And then she comes right when everyone gets off the train and says, no, no, no. She comes back out, boom, la, 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 shows you everything she's got, and then goes back into her room again. And everybody chases that crowd and then filters away from it, and then chases that crowd and filters away. That's Julio Jones for cash game considerations. Has one big game, everybody goes, oh, he's back, he's finally steady, woo! He's not. He's not. He's the little girl that goes back into the room on in the French Quarter and only comes out once every 3 or 4 weeks to show you what she's got. That's it. So, that said, if there's any takeaway there from other than the fact that I'm just stone cold nuts, it's that Julio Jones is not a cash safe receiver most weeks. He's just not. Give me the same salary and give me Antonio Brown every day of the week, please. Eagles, Chargers, not a lot to learn out of that, in my opinion, other than Zach Ertz is safe. I can't wait for Carson Wentz to come home and be a favorite in a game so I can actually use him in some DFS because he's like Dak. He's cheap. He's efficient. I like the guy. This was a kicker's battle from hell until Fitz scored that late touchdown. Buccaneers, Giants, whatever. It was okay, but none of us were really on that game anyway. I don't know what the takeaway there is. If we look in briefly, okay, Eli had it, whatever. Eli still sucks. Odell had a decent game, but for his price, it was just kind of whatevs. That's what he needs to be doing every week instead of lifting his leg and pissing on fire hydrants. That dude drives me nuts. Jameis Winston, there you go. A good game out of him. Home favorite, cheap home favorite with some legs to run a little bit and throw to some weapons. That was predictable. Turned out he was cash safe. Turns out to be that he was more of a GPP play because of ownership, but he was cash safe. 16 carries for the quiz. Okay, you know, doesn't get targeted much in the passing game, in the receiving game because of Charles Sims being healthy. Cameron Brate had a day, good, la la la. Humphreys had, okay, that tells me all I need to know. When Humphreys and Brate have more yards than Mike Evans and maybe even Deshaun Jackson, this is the type of game that was just kind of goofy. That's why you focused on Winston and not really much else. Going forward, home favorite quarterbacks, cheap ones especially, except for this one. This one kind of crapped the bed on us. Simeon didn't pan out, now did he? I don't know what else to take away. That game kind of let us down. Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas kind of dropped duds on us, to speak, more or less to speak of. This game over here, whatever. Russell Wilson had 2 games in a row, had a game at home. He was predictable that he'd be good at home, so good. Hope you used him. Chris Carson looked really good until he got hurt, which was a pretty gross injury. Defense, 2 scores on defense, so take 14 points off that, and they got, 32? That's okay. I like that just fine. But we'll see how we play it going forward because Seahawks just feel a little inconsistent to me still. If you can target the production in there, it's great. I will tell you one to target that I'm thinking is kind of something, and that's Paul Richardson. I don't know what to make of Jimmy Graham yet. I don't know how healthy Doug Baldwin is. Tyler Lockett is more of your deep threat Deshaun Jackson type. I know maybe he plays in the slot. I just know his game logs typically are feast or famine. Paul Richardson's been consistent. Go look up his targets. Go look up his little receptions and yardage. For cheap pricing, he's been pretty consistent. So I do like Paul Richardson. This game here, Kareem Hunt, didn't have a big 50-yard touchdown run, but he still looked very solid. This game gave us about what we wanted out of it, except for that late defensive touchdown, which was weird. So anyway, let's put that one to bed. Let's look forward to week 4 really quick. See if we can't target a few games here. This is really weird. You don't see over 30 often. Thursday night, I don't know that I'm going to, again, fade this slate um, or fade the game and play the slate. It's like Thursday night. I mean, although we still did well, hopefully, if you didn't roster very many Packers, you might grab a piece out of this one. Being a road favorite with a crap defense, I do maybe like a little Jameis Winston again. Being how bad that New England's offense or defense has proven to be, might be a good spot for Jameis to have good back-to-back weeks. I wonder how many people will be on that aren't just, your mook-tards that are out there stacking up the game on Thursday night so they can score 60 points out of 8 guys and go tell their wives they're winning $8,000 right now and then just want to shoot themselves as it goes nothing but backwards throughout the rest of the weekend because they were stupid. Don't be that guy. That's just dumb. Well, actually, do be that guy because we need all the edge we can get in DFS. So go be that guy. Chargers, Giants, no. Buffalo, Cincinnati, no. Look at these. Look at these putrid totals again. Jacksonville, playing from behind. This will be our Leonard Fournette test. If they get game flowed out of it, it's a great spot for Le'Veon. But if this is and great spot for the whole offense. Although Jacksonville's been a tougher defense, it's kind of interesting. It's going to be a game we're going to talk a lot about throughout the week that we're going to dig into, try and break apart. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Leonard Fournette. It may actually be a Hearns or Lee type of week because we know Bortles. I'm not calling him the garbage time king like they did 2 years ago, but the fact of the matter is he's probably going to have to be chucking it to keep them competitive late in the game. And if Pittsburgh drops into some sort of prevent defense because they're up by 10 points or 14 points, then that might be a lot of gobble up yardage for that receiver, the one that's getting picked, by Bortles to be the favorite of the day. So you might look into that because it'll probably be pretty cheap again. Another putrid game. I don't know. San Francisco, Indianapolis. Gosh, Pierre Garcon maybe. Arizona at Philly. There's your home favorite for Carson Wentz. Ask and you shall receive. 6.5 points favorites. I'd like to see what they're going to do with LeGarrette Blount and Wendell Smallwood. Again, I know that Smallwood features in the passing game a little bit more. Blunt's your goal line puncher, but I think that Smallwood outsnapped him. I think that LeGarrette out-touched Wendell Smallwood. So that's a weird committee again. I do like the Ertz combo with, although Arizona's been tough on tight ends. Ertz is going to get targets. Wentz probably be able to pass the ball around a little bit. You got Arizona coming all the way across the country for an early start. That's your typical west to east early start type of situation. So say what you want about their defense being elite. There's a chance they come out flat. Carolina at Detroit, I don't know. It's not a game I'm going to really focus heavily on. Seattle at LA, this is a great spot again for Todd Gurley. I don't know about Jared Goff. I don't know that Seattle's as strong as it once was. They're still okay, probably not to be messed with too much. But I don't know what to say about Russell Wilson and those guys if they're going to keep this one close and competitive. I do like Gurley in this one again. Baltimore, just due to the workload he gets. Baltimore at Oakland. We'll have to see what happens with the whole back injury to Derek Carr and what we think that E.J. Manuel can do. Baltimore going all the way west isn't such a big deal as Arizona coming east. Green Bay at Dallas. Probably more Zeke, maybe another Dak type game favored at home, scheduled to score a lot of points. Man, that's another good scenario. 52.5 is the total there. 55.5 here. Hope those games pan out. That'd be nice. KC at Houston, another interesting spot. Without the DVP off the top of my head, Kareem Hunt's really, really pricey. I don't know how much of a softer matchup this might be for him. I think he's going to get the workload and get every opportunity. If Alex Smith and maybe a Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce can keep that Houston defense honest, maybe it opens it up for Kareem Hunt. Let's see how that plays out through the rest of the week. And then the Monday night game looks kind of putrid. Minnesota at home without Dalvin Cook, most likely. I don't know. We'll see. No Sam Bradford. We'll see. Whatever. So that, in a nutshell, is next week looking forward. If we take a look inside the Army, the one thing that I want to show you is what DFS Army does. Our guys win. narrowly missed the perfect lineup, that 80 grand out of 100,000 entries. Modest win, $82. Modest win, $68. 60 on a 5 in the flea flicker. Pretty darn good for the investment that was put into that. So what's that, 6 in and 68 out? Not bad. Uh, you know, Posted the lineup here. These are our members showing you their winnings and thanking the Army for helping them learn and grow. A lot of multi-entries here. So you got to love this stuff. $3,000 winner. $3,000 winner. Kudos. Army hat, $3,000, probably another Wall of Fame. We end up putting guys on this Wall of Fame. It feels like almost weekly in here. Um, of course, everybody, I'm just going to keep scrolling down. 200 here, doubled up. 40 here. Ladder structure, winning. More ladder structure, winning. Let's see. These guys, massive multi-entry. Cashing all over the place. Guys ask each other questions all the time. Multi-entry. $200 here. Not bad. A little more of a smattering of good stuff. Lineups that are producing. Let's see. $100 here. Another $20 here. I mean, you can't go wrong. $80 here. We've got guys that are just winning and winning and winning. And as I scroll this down, just keep on going. Keep on going. Keep on going. $450 on 92. More ladder stuff. That's one of our contributors. Doing again, second place in a 100-man league. Good. Put a $500, put a $5 100-man league together. Good. 74 out of 24, tripled up. I mean, guys, this is just the way this stuff tends to go. If you're not a member of the DFS Army, again, you need to consider it. You follow my code in the description or the link of this tab, and you're going to join a winning team of guys that are teaching other players how to win. These guys came into the Army wanting to get better. They're getting better. They're winning money. They're thanking us left and right. They say that we're the best value out on the internet. I don't know what else to do other than to stand up on top of the mountain, scream from the top of my lungs, and beat my drum until more of you realize that it's just harder and harder and harder these days to do it on your own. So anyway, we're gotten up on 30 minutes. That's just a recap, a little bit of talking about the upcoming week and showing you the proof is in the damn pudding. Your lineup provider or your lineup seller out there on the internet can't do that for you. He focuses on turning $1 into $2 or 100 into 200 if you play that big. He wants you doubling up because he knows he sucks. He can't hit much more than the 50-50 line. Occasionally he hits a triple up or something like that, but that's not his game. His game is to double up, and he can't do it 65% of the time. I see different names selling lineups all the time. I don't see the same lineup seller coming at you very often, again and again and again. There are a couple, but generally speaking, you're paying these guys, 30, 40, 50, $60 a month. Why not pay the $29, join the Army, and learn how to do it for your damn self? Take some pride in what you do. Take some ownership in your hobby instead of just taking the freaking handout that doesn't really do much for you. Learn to do better than that. Enter some of these tournaments. Win $3,000. Win $200. Do that on your own. You can do it. You absolutely can do it. But you can't do it on your own. You have to become part of a winning team that teaches you the fundamentals and walks you through and shows you what to learn and what to pay attention to. And that's where the DFS Army steps in. So anyway, guys, Choppadong once again. Follow me out on Twitter at Choppadong. Follow me in the DFS Army under the same name. We'll be back at you in a couple of days with a Vegas Lines podcast and a couple of articles throughout the week. Peace out.